All right, guys, today I'm going to show you how we are going to look at our next part of geometry, which is volume. So we've been talking about area, and area is two-dimensional. So for example, rectangles are base times height to find the area. For a triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. So area is how much something on the inside of a two-dimension shape happens. So for example, let's see, and then we're going to see what volume is. Volume is going to be with 3 dimensions. So let me show you based on what we know. So if we had this funky looking shape right here, we can't look at this and say, oh, this is a rectangle or a triangle or something like that. So area, in case you forgot, is how much something on the inside it fills up. So if you look at these black squares, we can count like how many there are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right here, we could say that there are 9 right there. So we could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the area of that base is 9 square units, okay? So remember, area is how much it covers in the two dimensions. So if we keep looking at that, let's say that we have that area of that base of that shape we can't identify. So if we stacked it one time, so now these are like those pink cubes, so this is flipped over. So here's your original. So if we flip that over, the area of the base is what we just figured out. There was 9 cubes, okay? So let me try and make that a little bit more clear for you. So if there were 9 cubes, then if we see that there's only one height, there's only that one pink, we can see that there would be a total of 9 cubic inches, so 9 total cubes. Well, let's see what happens if we still have that pink, that first layer, but now we stack a blue on it. So it's still those 9 cubes just stacked up on top of each other. Well, if we had the area of the base, that bottom shape was those pink cubes, those 9 cubes. And now I've stacked the pink layer once and the blue layer a second one, so there are 2 layers. Well, if you were to stop and break that down and crumble it apart, you would see 9 plus an additional 9. There would be 18 total cubes. So 9 times 2 is 18. So the volume of this when it's stacked on top of each other with 2 layers is 18. So if we had this pink base right here and the second layer, that's the other base, so they're connected to it with the height right here of 2. Okay, well, what if now we had, okay, here's the first dimension. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to move that. Let me move that back. Just meant to move my pen. Can fix that. So here's that first layer, the second layer, and now we have a third layer. Well, the area of that base right here, from this 9 to this group of 9, so from base to base, there are 3 layers. So 9 cubes on top of 9 cubes on top of 9 cubes. 9 times 3 is 27. So the volume of this shape is 27 cubic units or 27 cubic inches. So volume is something how much space it takes inside. So for example, if you have a water bottle or a soda or something like that, the volume is what's inside that, how much liquid it contains. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's see what else we can look at. Okay, so that's again, so here's where we started. We stacked it just 2 times. We've got 18. So we switch these around. Then we had 18 and then 27. So let's look at this one. All right, so now we have a new shape. Again, we can't look at this and say, oh, this is a rectangle or a circle or a square. We're going to get into those later, but we just want to talk about what we know originally. So if we see that this, the area of the base, area is how much is in here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the area of this base is 6 squares or 6 inches squared or 6 centimeters, whatever our unit is, 6 squared units. Okay. So if we were to say, okay, well, here's my 6 units, and if I were to see this, okay, now here are my 6 units, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You need to see it that way. Here's that area of the base, and there's only one layer, that first layer of pink. So if we crumble them apart, we're going to see that there were 6 total cubes. Makes sense. Well, now, okay, well, we have that first layer again, but we stacked on top of it another layer, so another group of 6 because they're stacked right on top of each other. So if there's 2 layers from this base all the way to the top of this base, 6 times 2 is 12. Again, crumbled apart, you're going to have 12 cubic units. Okay, so the volume, how much space it takes up from those bases are 12 cubic units. And you probably already predicted, well, if we stacked it not once, not twice, but 3 times, the area of that base right here, this pink one, so this like black felt that was underneath that, if we were to put that black felt on top of here, we said that there are 3 layers. So that would be 6 times 3, so that would be 18. And again, we're looking at this to kind of get you understanding here in our next lesson, we're going to actually be using formulas. So this is just kind of helping us understand why these formulas work. So when we're having the height, that's just the layers of how you're stacking from this bottom base to that top base. And we're going to count how many cubes would be in there if we were to break it apart. Okay, so let's look at this last problem together, and then you'll have some problems on your own. So now this one kind of looks like a face. So we have like maybe like the nose right here, the forehead and the top of the head, the chin and the neck kind of looks kind of funny. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 cubes right there. So that means if I just stack it one time, I have one layer, 8 times 1 is 8. And that makes sense because you see 8 pink cubes when you count those up. So here again, if I stack it again, well, this is 8. This is another 8 because there's 2 layers from here to here, the height of 2. That means if you break it down, you'd have 16 total cubes. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this. So all we're doing is taking the area of the base, how much it was with 2 dimensions, and then we're multiplying by how many times we're stacking it, and that helps us to see that if you break it down, how many total there are. Okay, so now if we stack it pink with the blue, with the green, well, if there were 8 of them, like in our first one right here, so if we had this as going back to that bottom, that was our base. If we were to stack it 3 times, well, this is 8, this is another 8, and this is another 8. So that area, that base, that pink, again, think about that black felt down here. That's what we actually counted. Well, if I put that black felt on top of here, that's still 8 of them. And I see 3 groups of that 8. So those are my layers. So there would be 24 cubic inches or 24 total cubes if we're looking at these as measurements of inches. Okay, so basically what we're trying to get you guys to see, now it's your turn to try some out, is how we can relate volume is just that 3-dimensional, how much capacity it holds, okay, like liquid or anything like that. So you're going to have some problems here that you're going to try out on your own. So you'll have one that looks kind of like this. So find the area of that base and then stack it and see what your volume would be. Then if you keep going, then you're going to actually say, okay, well, let's think about what we know in problem 5. Okay, identify this shape as a rectangle. How did we find the area of a rectangle? And then stack that to find your volume. And then question 6, you're going to have a triangle. So find the area of that triangle and think about stacking it with tower 1, tower 2, tower 3. And then you could have a last question like this. Okay, so if we identified these bases like we've already done, now we actually know the area formulas for those, and we're going to move from there. All right, I hope that this video was helpful. Again, this is leading us into our next part of volume. And please make sure if you have any questions to let us know.